The approval workflow settings contain many additional parameters and settings for use in quite specific scenarios. So we'll work through some of these and explain their use cases where we can. So the first thing we need to do is to navigate to the approval workflow settings page. So I've got that open here. You can also get to it just by typing approval. You've got approval workflow settings. And then we'll just slowly work our way down this list. So workflow enabled we covered. That just is a general on-off switch for the approval workflow. Next down we have per product approval setting enabled. So this enforces the approval workflow against specific products only. And it means you can select certain products to require approval, while others can just be freely ordered. So how this exactly is configured and set up will be covered in the next tutorial. Next down, we have redirect to current work page instead basket. So this option changes the standard checkout flow to ignore the full checkout process. So with this option enabled, the customer creates a variable print, submits it for approval, and then the approval process skips the delivery and billing address details. If this is not enabled, then the customer will submit an order as normal, with the approval taking place between submission and the order arriving within shared print operations. Now the next three options are all to do with quick access links. So this group of settings controls the quick access links to the approvals page on the front end. So this is what we saw in the previous tutorial. If we're looking at the front end, go to the My Account drop-down. There's an approvals button on there. So what these three settings will do, so we have show workflow links in quick access bar. So this allows navigational access to the approval or work in progress, depending on the customer role. We've got show workflow links in quick access bar with current count. So that identifies the number of jobs that are awaiting approval or are in progress. And then we have hide workflow links in quick access bar when 0. So this just hides those access links when there's no jobs that require approval by the logged in user. We have is automatically rejected. So this will force the users to resubmit their projects before the approvers will receive them in their queue. Therefore, the approvers will not receive any emails until the orders have been resubmitted. Now, we've not quite got to doing email triggers yet, but we need to keep that one in mind. Now, scrolling down the page a little bit, we have email approver with new approval items. So this option switches on the email capabilities of the approval workflow. Do note that individual email templates will still need to be activated in the email message templates screen. And then in that same vein, we have email approver instantly. So this sends the instant approver email template, which I'll show in a moment, to all of the approvers as soon as a job requires approval. So without checking this, the service is sent only once a day. So just to show you where those are specified. So if you've specified in here that you do want to use the email triggers, if I just go to the email message templates page, you'll see there's a whole section dedicated to the approval workflow. All of these templates are inactive by default. You can see I've previously activated one on my particular storefront. And these templates can be modified and activated in exactly the same way as other email templates. And of course, there's other tutorial topics to do with that. But just to show you very briefly, you go to edit. You can modify the contents of each of those emails. It gives you some information on when their triggers are activated. And you've got the ability to enable or disable them. Back to the workflow settings page, we have approval for all approvers. So this one allows any approver to approve anyone's job. We've got approve will copy to approver basket. So approving an order will add the items within that order to the basket of the approver. they can then proceed through the normal checkout steps. We have multiple approval. So this option allows you to specify whether approval is required from more than one approver. So you'll see if I check that, I get an additional entry appearing here. Minimum approvers needed. Now leave this value at 0 to mean that all approvers must give approval for that job to go through. Alternatively, you can directly specify a number of required approvers, so 2 or 3, for example. We have email submitter on approval. So when active, this option means the user requesting approval will receive an email notification once the job has been approved. And coming down a little bit, we have a group of watermark options. So these options control whether a watermark is present and whether access to a document is restricted. So we have watermark text. So that's the watermark that should be populated when an approver downloads an item for assessment. We have restrict watermark open. So that applies opening restrictions on the watermarked item. And then watermark open password. So that's the password that must be entered in order to open the watermark document if you've got the restrictions applied. We've got store URL. That's simply the full URL of your storefront. Next is workflow additional product attribute column. So product or specification attributes can be added as additional columns to the approval table that's viewed by the approver that we've seen in previous tutorials on the front end. Up to 3 attributes can be defined, and it needs the following format. So I'm just going to copy and paste. So you'll see it needs a format such as this. You can have 3 of them maximum. It needs the column header name in curly brackets, equals, and then the product attribute name. So for example, it could be something like that. We have enable approval comments. So this brings up a text box where an approver can put a message to the user when they're going through the approval process. So if they approve or reject it. Scrolling down a little bit further, we have workflow trust levels, which can be enabled or disabled. Now you can assign trust levels to your users. The way this works, so the maximum number of trust level is 10. So this trust level indicates what percentage of orders will automatically be approved for that particular user. Leaving it unchecked just means that you won't have any trust levels applied on a particular storefront. You can turn this setting on, as I've done there, and then assign trust levels per customer, which I'll show in the next step. Additionally, underneath that, you have level up and level down adjustment. So this allows you to automatically increase or decrease the trust level by a certain amount for each approved or rejected item that that customer has associated with them. So to modify the trust level on a per user basis, I'm first going to navigate to our customer management. Edit the user I want to modify the trust level for, and then go back to the department and customer relationship section. You can enable or disable the trust level for each particular user, and you can set the trust level on this particular screen as well. So you can see there's a few notes. It's kind of related to a percentage. So 0 means that they never require any approval. 10 means that they always require approval. And then 1 to 9, the higher the number, the higher the probability. So 1 means that the order has a 90% chance of skipped approval. Okay, just a couple more to go through. We have use inventory transactions. So when enabled, all jobs that require approval will add a transaction to the product variant of that particular product. This ensures that the stock of the product is not immediately reduced until the job is approved. So the customer will be presented with a calculation of the current stock plus all pending transactions, if you have that enabled.